Welcome to the Systems Thinker Show. This is Season 6, Episode 50, and I just have to start by saying a huge thank you. We have listeners in 47 countries now, which is just incredible. And a special shout out to the many students from China who are joining us through our case study website. Welcome. Today, we're diving into something really powerful, how to seriously upgrade your team's culture. Because, let's be honest, understanding principles like the 48 laws of power isn't just theory. It is absolutely essential for unlocking elite performance. And hey, on that note, if you're getting value from what we're doing here, could you do me a quick favor? Please consider hitting that subscribe or follow button and maybe share this with a few friends. Right now, less than 23% of our listeners are actually subscribed, and your support really truly helps us with those streaming algorithms so we can keep bringing you these best-in-class business insights. This content also goes hand in hand with our business playbooks, Shift Happens, and the brand new Culture by Design, Power by Discipline, Volume 1. You can find both on Amazon and other online bookstores all over the world. Okay, let's dive into this. All right, let's kick things off with this quote, because it gets right to the heart of a trap so many leaders fall into. We get obsessed with the numbers, right? The KPIs, the dashboards, the charts. But here's the truth. Metrics don't change behavior. Meaning does. If your team has no idea why they're chasing a number, that number is just, well, it's just noise. It doesn't inspire anyone to dig deeper or go that extra mile. And that really leads to the million-dollar question for every single person listening right now. I want you to really think about your team. Are they just showing up, doing just enough not to get into trouble? That, my friends, is compliance. Or are they all in? Are they leaning forward, solving problems you didn't even know you had because they're emotionally invested? That's commitment. And the gap between those two, well, it's everything. It's the difference between a good team and a truly elite one. So how do we get from just compliance to real commitment? We're going to anchor ourselves in a powerful, timeless principle of influence. This is Law 43 from Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. The idea here is actually pretty simple, but it's so profound. You can try to force people to do things, coercion, and you might get them to comply for a little while, but underneath the surface, you're just breeding resentment, and that stuff is poison. To build real, die-hard loyalty, the kind that fuels that commitment we're talking about, you have to connect with people on an emotional level. Now, I want to be clear, this is not about manipulation. It's about building genuine trust and showing your team that what they care about, you care about too. Okay, so the theory sounds good, right? But what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's check out the proof. We're going to look at a case study of a manufacturing company that was really struggling. Their culture was totally top-down, command and control. They decided to put this very principle to the test, and what happened next was, well, it was a complete game changer. So here's how they did it. It's a brilliant roadmap. First, and this took guts, leadership stood up and admitted their old way wasn't working. Their trust scores are literally in the basement, below 50%. Then, they empowered their frontline supervisors to change the entire conversation. Huddles were no longer just about barking out KPIs, they started with purpose and recognition. And just that simple shift, it started to rebuild trust. Leaders became partners instead of bosses. And once that trust was in place, something incredible happened. Ownership. The teams themselves started coming up with better ways to do the work. This slide just says it all. Look at that transformation. They went from this transactional, fear-based culture where nobody would dare report a problem to a place of psychological safety where people actually felt safe to speak up. The entire dynamic shifted from a compliance culture to a commitment culture. And here's the best part. Accountability stopped being a top-down thing. It became peer-to-peer. The team started holding each other to a higher standard. That, right there, is the holy grail of teamwork. Now, for anyone out there who's still thinking this hearts and minds stuff is a little too soft, let's talk hard data. Gallup did the research in manufacturing, and the numbers don't lie. When teams are emotionally engaged, they're not just happier, they perform on a whole different level. We're talking 21% higher productivity, and get this, 59% lower turnover, almost 60%. Winning hearts and minds isn't a nice-to-have. It's a strategic weapon that drives real bottom-line results. Okay, so we've got the why, and we've seen the proof. The next logical question is probably, that sounds great, but how do you make it last? How do you make sure all this positive energy doesn't just fizzle out? That's a great question. And this is where influence has to meet disciplined execution. To really make this kind of change stick, you have to bring two things together. Think of it like this. On one side, you have Greene's law. That's the why. It's the emotional connection, the trust, the cultural ignition. It's the spark. But a spark without fuel doesn't last. That's where a management operating system, or MOS, comes in. That's the how. It provides the structure, the daily habits, the rhythm. It gives the culture endurance. So what is an MOS? Don't let the name scare you. It's really just the engine that keeps the culture humming along. It's a framework that takes all that amazing buy-in and channels it into consistent, disciplined action every single day. It's the system of tiered meetings, visual scoreboards, and standard work for leaders that ensures the purpose and trust you've built doesn't just become a nice memory. It's what connects the heart to the hands. All right, so let's bring this all the way down to the ground. What can you, as a leader, do tomorrow morning to start putting this into practice? Let's get super actionable right now. This simple, one-page checklist is an absolute game changer for any frontline leader. Look at how every single item on here blends the heart with the system. You start with purpose. You connect the metrics to the mission, so they're not just numbers. You ask a real question, and you actually listen to the answer. You recognize somebody's contribution. And you end the day by bringing it all back to meaning. This isn't rocket science, but I'm telling you, doing these 5 things consistently is one of the most powerful things you can do as a leader. This quote just perfectly nails the entire point we've been making today. Systems without hearts create compliance. You get a bunch of robots just ticking boxes. But hearts without systems create chaos. You get a lot of good intentions and passion, but no focus, no direction. Elite performance? It lives right there in the middle where those 2 things meet. And so this is the final thought I want to leave you with. As you go about your week, I want you to reflect on this question. Take a hard look at your meetings, your emails, your one-on-ones. Are you truly leading hearts, or are you just managing hands? Because mastering both, that's the key. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. For any additional information, please feel free to visit our website at www.karasinnovations.com. And hey, be sure to check out our other podcast, The Continuous Improvement Lab. And you can find a lot more content on our YouTube channel, Karas Innovations Group. And a very special thank you to our executive producer and founder, Lanier Johnson. We'll see you next time.